Hello, everyone. Welcome to another episode of Chris McDaniel's America. I'm Jack Fairchilds, once again filling in for Chris. We had everything scheduled perfectly today to have Chris back on the program. Unfortunately, his mother-in-law passed away on Friday, and uh, again, that pretty much changed around everything from the way that we wanted to do it. Because of course he's where he's supposed to be. He's tied up, with family, getting all the arrangements, together. And we just want to keep Chris, Jill, Cambridge, and Chamberlain in our prayers. We know that this is a very difficult time for them. So please keep them in your prayers. Jill's mother, Cheryl Tullis, was an outstanding lady, and she is dearly going to be missed. Now, we are trying to do something a little different today. You may notice it already in the audio that I'm putting out because we are going to have a guest, but this guest is coming to us live from Texas. He is not in studio with us, so we are attempting to do our first Zoom show, and as such, we are kind of flying by the seat of our pants, I guess is the best way to say it, because it's new for us, it's new for our producer, so it's a little tricky. We think next time maybe we'll have figured out a way to have it, because I don't even know why I got this microphone right here, because it is not the microphone that you're hearing me from. It's the ear pods in my ears that you're hearing it from. So with all that said, I do want to introduce our guest. It is author and historian Ryan Walters. Ryan, I know this is your first time on Chris McDaniel's America. So welcome to the program.
Thank you so much for having me. It's great to be here.
For those of you who don't know Ryan that well, Ryan has guest hosted with myself on the Right Side Radio Show multiple times. He is an author. He's written. Are you up to 5 books now, or is it more than that?
Well, number 6 will be out in a few months, and then I'm finishing up a book on Lyndon Johnson maybe by the end of the year. So I should be at 7 by the end of the year.
Wow. So going to release 2 this year. That's pretty impressive. And
Well, that's the plan. That's the plan anyway.
Ryan is a successful author and a historian and a staunch conservative, and that's part of the reason why I thought of him, because one of the things we will discuss, not to start the show, but we will get into the Supreme Court ruling earlier this week. That's something I really wanted to have Chris for, with him being a constitutional scholar and an attorney. I know he could break it down, and he may break down what we talk about today and say, no, this is where y'all were wrong. So it's extremely possible, but we're going to give it a try here. But I do want to start off because, again, Ryan, I'm sure you already have seen the news this morning that a man was shot and killed after an unauthorized entry into the into Mar-a-Lago. So, what do you again, this happened at 1:30 a.m. And again, unauthorized entry means he broke in. I don't know why they're trying to be so coded and how they word that. I don't know why you want to be coded in that, but unauthorized entry means you snuck in. You essentially were trespassing. They say that the man was found with a shotgun and a can of gas. So it's crazy. The man has been confirmed to Fox News, at least according to this article. It was confirmed by the sheriff down there, Rick Bradfall Shaw, that the suspect was 21-year-old Austin Tucker Martin of North Carolina. So again, this is another scary incident as we watch this, because according to Bradshaw at the press conference, he said that the individual made his way onto the inner perimeter of Mar-a-Lago, and it's just one of those things that we're unfortunately, Ryan, we're seeing more and more. We're seeing examples of how unhinged some of these people are. The fact that they're willing to come down and attempt to, because I mean, What do you think he's going to do? He's got a shotgun and he's got a can of gas. He's not there to just fill their car tanks. He's there for a truly heinous crime. He's there to kill somebody,
Yeah.
essentially. Uh, I guess he's hoping President Trump's there. That would be my assumption of who his target was. Uh, I think that's a safe assumption considering what we're looking at here. So again, this is an ongoing investigation. But again, at what point is the left going to understand that the more that they just dial up that rhetoric, the more that they continue to throw out there that Trump is a Nazi, the more that they're encouraging people like this guy.
Well, you want me to go out on a limb here and tell you what the real issue is? They want this to happen. It's not like um, you can convince them to stop their rhetoric because it's causing harm. They know exactly what it's doing. That's why they continue to do it. And they know these crazies on the left will do things like that. I mean, when you start seeing leftists as communists and you study communism, it fits perfectly and you understand it. I mean, there's a lot of them out there, and they seem to be getting crazier and crazier. I mean, showing up with a can of gasoline and a shotgun, he wasn't on a goodwill tour, obviously. And you know what I find fascinating is leftists hate guns. They want to ban guns and get rid of guns, but they all seem to have guns, don't they? They all seem
They
to
do.
have guns. They have AR-15s and all of these things that they have. Um, and of course, what they mean is they want you and I to be disarmed. They weren't talking about themselves.
Mhm.
We got a serious problem, and the government's going to have to make an example of some of these people. And obviously, that's a good example for this guy. He's dead. But I mean, somebody's going to have to go to prison the rest of their life. I mean, the people that are funding these kind of things, they say they're after them. They're going to have to knock the legs out from under these people that are funding it. Some of these people probably need to go to jail as well. You can't be having this kind of uprising in the country. I mean, it's somebody's going to get killed, and I don't mean these perpetrators. I mean some innocent people is going to get killed. A member of Congress or something like that.
Yeah.
Um, they're going to have to crack down on it pretty hard.
It's disappointing because we understand what's at stake. And I understand there are people that don't agree with us politically. There are people that don't like President Trump, don't like his policies, and that's your right as an American. I don't have a problem with disagreement. Where I have a problem is when you have so dehumanized the people on the other side of the argument that now their assassination seems like it's a good idea. Just a few weeks ago, we talked about a study where there were folks, there was a large number of leftists saying that it is perfectly okay that they support assassination of their political rivals. I don't remember the exact poll because I don't have it in front of me right now, but it just goes to show there's a sickness there.
Mhm.
And they can point to whatever they want because oh, you can point to these ICE agents that kill. Well, those are completely different scenarios. And in many of the cases, leftists antagonized to a certain point. We've got to get back to an era, to a day and age where we can have a true civil discourse. Because, Ryan, we're getting to that point now. I don't know where the common ground is. I don't know where we find a middle ground with anyone
Yeah.
when it comes to these type of things. And that's what's so frightening to me. Those are the things that really keep me up at night because I understand that this experiment that we have here in the United States of America, it's even though it's turning 250 years this year, it's still extremely fragile.
You're 100% right, and you use the right word, dehumanizing the other side. That's what they do, and that's a totalitarian tactic. It doesn't matter communism, fascism, whatever you want to. That's what they do is dehumanize their opponents or their enemies, and and they're not shooting us because they think we're Nazis. They're calling us Nazis so they can shoot us. And it's going to continue. Leftists have always been violent. I mean, as a historian, I can tell you there's always been violence on the left, and the left has always used that and believe it. You can go back in the early days of the country. There's always been mob actions and mob violence and things like that. I mean, just look at the 70s, Weather Underground and all that, and bombings and things. They've always done that. That's always been their tactics. And what keeps me up at night, you mentioned uh, things that keep you up at night. What keeps me up at night is how much longer does our side be patient and put up with it? Because what I fear is they're going to do something to the wrong individual one day, and he ain't
Yeah.
going to take the lying down. And here we go. I mean, it's going to be a lot of people are saying, it's civil war on the horizon. I hate to say it, but yeah, as long as this kind of stuff continues, because it can't last. I mean, we can't just sit back and continue to take this. And I fear that somebody's going to be successful in one of these types of situations. And I don't know what the answer to it is, except brutal crackdown. I mean, you're going to have to throw people in jail for a long, long time and make an example out of some of these fanatics and calm it down. That's the only thing that I see is the solution to it.
And what's that look like? I mean, because again, there's a frightening element of that as well, Ryan, because if you start, who gets to decide who went too far? Who gets to decide
Exactly.
what protest is when it's look? I do think that it's easy to say that ones that are rioting in the streets and throwing stuff at law enforcement, those are easy to define boundaries. But again, in a few years, if you go down that rabbit hole, what's to say that standing out and speaking against, say, a leftist regime, and
Mhm.
then they crack down on you, and you're not even there trying to be violent, but because you spoke out, it's always a slippery slope. I mean, and that's the concern.
Well,
I think that's another concern that we have is, I mean, who gets to decide that? People, and we'll get into this in a second when we start talking about the Supreme Court decision and ruling on tariffs. But I hear from a lot of people, and I think this is a very dangerous mentality, Ryan. I hear from a lot of people that say, well, it's okay because Trump's in charge. And
yeah,
that you might feel that way. But I got a news flash for you. Trump's not always going to be in charge.
yeah.
And, the next president might be a Democrat.
Well, did you
I
see
mean,
Susan?
it's possible.
Sure. Did you see Susan Rice just a few days ago openly saying it in an interview that they're going to go after people that supported Trump when they get back in power? I mean, they're openly saying it.
Hmm.
And people on our side better understand that they are planning retaliation um, against Trump and Trump supporters. And the problem with people on our side, the right side, um, is that when, as you said, when Trump's in charge, we have control of Congress, we tend to relax. We tend to just sort of go through life, as you say, well, we got a president and Congress. We don't think down the road. Um, and I think that's what the problem is. We relax too much. And look, they're early voting here in Texas. We have a primary next month. And I can tell you the turnout in Democrats is on a presidential year level already in early voting, and Republican voting so far is lagged behind. Now, I know a lot of Republicans vote on election day. I think the primary is in early March the 3rd or something, but that's a concern that they are galvanized in these upcoming elections, and people better get out and do the right thing and do what we can. And I know it's frustrating. I know it's frustrating. I'm frustrated with Congress. I'm frustrated with the majority leader in the Senate, Thune. And I knew he was going to be, it was a terrible pick when he was named.
I think
Um,
we talked about that on my show when he was named. I think that may have been one of the last times you were on my show.
yeah, it was between him and Rick Scott. And I said, Rick Scott's got a whole lot better choice than Thune. I knew Thune was McConnell Jr., and he is. And
Yeah.
if we don't get the SAVE Act passed, there's some things we can do. I think the Supreme Court's probably going to strike down Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. That's going to stop this racial gerrymandering in its tracks if they do. If we pass the SAVE Act, we have to show ID. So much. Democrats probably have 10 to 15 on the conservative side House seats they shouldn't have because of their shenanigans. We should win hands down. And if some of that can get cleaned up this year, I think we're going to be a whole lot better shape because their cheating is off the charts. We know that, and like I said, they steal at least 10 to 15 House seats a year that they shouldn't have. And hopefully we can get those things passed and do the right thing. And um, we'll see. I mean, the Supreme Court's been a disappointment this week, but maybe they'll help us out somewhere else.
Well, we're going to get into that Supreme Court ruling because again, this is one of those things that, and we'll go ahead and skip ahead and go ahead and get into that since you brought it up. But it's one of those things that, as I said at the start of the show, I really, wish we had Chris here for, just because his legal expertise, and I think Ryan has an outstanding comprehension of the Constitution as well. That's why he was who I called. Because I'll be honest with you, I don't quite know what to make of this ruling because I do know one thing that when I look at it on its face, and I do understand that Congress is supposed to be controlling spending, they're supposed to be controlling, you know, the taxation, even I guess of foreign countries and things like that. So I look at it and I say, well, is it an abuse of power? Is it stepping outside of the checks and balances that we have in place? And again, going back to what some people say, well, it's Trump, so we should trust it. But what happens if it's AOC next time? And she decides, hey, guess what? I think there's a climate crisis, and I'm going to invoke these new green policies without Congress. So you see what I'm saying? There's a slippery slope right there. And when you look at things, again, you may like what the president's, I like what the president's doing. But at the same time, we have to understand he's not always going to be president. And I think that there's some folks that have not fully grasped that to the level that I think that they should, Ryan, to the level that I think is necessary. And I think that's part of the problem that we've run in here time and time again is there's just so many folks that love the president and just have their blinders on. Because again, Donald Trump is doing a great job. Doesn't mean he's always right. Doesn't mean he's always right. And I think in an instance like this, maybe the Supreme Court ruled correctly. Maybe they didn't. Ryan, you've looked at the ruling. Knowing you've probably read the whole ruling because you like to torture yourself reading stuff like legalese. But just go ahead and kind of tell me your opinion on the ruling. Because again, I'm a novice when it comes to understanding that ruling. So that's why I wanted to call in heavyweight.
Well, just looking at it in a basic sense, Trump wasn't doing this without statutory authority. There are laws that Congress passed, and there's a number of these laws, and several of them that he was acting under were passed in the 1970s to give the president the authority to impose tariffs on a retaliatory basis when countries discriminate, when they raise their tariffs or that kind of thing. And a lot of it has to do with his ability to negotiate. And Trump's used this masterfully. He came in and said, okay, these countries are discriminating against us in terms of trade. And he imposed these tariffs. And then, of course, what happened? Here come these countries ready to negotiate. The Chinese were lowering their barriers. European countries were doing the same things. That's what they were put in place to do on an emergency basis. They're exactly right, though. The Constitution gives taxing and spending powers to Congress. Congress would have to impose a permanent revenue tariff or permanent type tariffs, but he's acting under the law. And if you read Kavanaugh's dissent, Kavanaugh believed that they were completely legal, that he was acting under the law. But there are other laws. And one thing Kavanaugh said was, yeah, but there are other laws that the president can also use as well. And of course, Trump came out the same day and, of course, ripped the Supreme Court. But at the same time said, okay, I'm going to use these other laws. And he not only did he reimpose everything, he raised them by 10%, I think, just to say, hey, look at what I can do. Now, the question is, somebody else going to file a lawsuit to go after that one? That's the issue. But the dissenting opinions seem to suggest that, yeah, but some of these other laws are a little more clear. And so the tariffs are still in place. In fact, they're even higher. They're not going anywhere.
Yeah.
We're bringing in a lot of revenue because of them. I've heard anywhere from 900 billion to $1 trillion. Some people say if they would leave them on for an entire year, we may even pull as much as $2 trillion in. Folks, we wouldn't need an income tax if they would do that and leave that system in place. That's the system we had until 1913. For some reason, from the beginning until 1913, we raised most of our revenue via tariffs, and we still had roads and schools and all of that kind of stuff. And nobody had an income tax to pay.
Yeah.
You don't need an IRS harassing you, that kind of thing. It seemed to work very well until 1913. And it can work that way again, particularly if we can get spending under control and stop throwing it away. You wouldn't need
Good
an
luck
income.
with that.
Yeah, well, yeah, that's I know that's biting off a little bit much, but I think he really wants to get rid of the income tax. And I'll tell you something else. If he gets rid of the income tax, I'll personally go to Mount Rushmore and start carving his face into the side of it.
um, I would love to see the income tax go away. Yeah, as I think most rational American would. I just don't see it happening. I don't think you do either.
Well, the problem is you see
Honestly,
the 16th
yeah,
Amendment, and if we just got rid of it and said, okay, it's no
mhm,
more, we repealed it. Guess what happens when the Democrats come in?
they
You,
just pass
you know,
another executive order.
they could do the
Uh,
same thing. Now, the problem with that is if you give people a couple of years to get their entire paychecks and realize how much the government's taking out, because I guarantee you, most people out there that work and they get a salary and their taxes are already taken out, I guarantee you, most of them don't realize how much is being taken out.
yeah,
They get that whole paycheck because the good thing about it is it'd be real hard to put it back on them at that level. Of course, they'll do it a different way. The way they sold it in 1913 was, well, the Rockefellers and the JP Morgan, they're not paying any income. They don't pay any taxes at all, and they've concentration. Same thing we hear from Bernie Sanders and AOC. That's how they sold it. Of course, World War One comes along, and then everybody's paying it, and everybody still pays it, or most of us, but. You get my point. I mean, um, it was sold that way, but it didn't stay that way. And of course, we got rid of the tariffs. We started letting foreign goods in. Our manufacturing base dries up, and Trump's trying to restore all of that, and he's doing good. I mean, our steel production just surpassed Japan. We hadn't done that in a long time. Um,
hmm
so that's the reason. And of course, people talk about inflation and price increases. The reason we have inflation and price increases, we have a Federal Reserve that can't get under control.
hmm
If you get under control in the monetary policy, you wouldn't have nearly as much inflation.
yeah,
Biden, they were throwing it out with both hands, and when you go from COVID and then through a Biden, that much money in circulation, yeah, I'm surprised inflation was as low as it was. I'm surprised it wasn't twice as high as what it was with as much money. There's just too much money in circulation.
hmm
That's what causes inflation.
it's crazy, because I mean, when you think about some of the common sense reasons, Ryan, that inflation exists, most people don't understand it, and a lot of the issues we see currently with the current inflation was already started under the previous administration because, they ramped up spending. I mean, we've done nothing really to get control of spending. I mean, Doge was formed when President Trump first went in, and we couldn't even get Congress to codify the
Yeah.
Doge cuts. I mean, so I don't know if there's anybody there in Washington, Republican or Democrat, that is serious about actually attacking the budget. I think Trump is because I think he put Doge in place for a reason. But even then, we didn't see a true fight for it. We didn't see anything to truly make me feel like this was the end all be all. We're actually going to commit to this because we just hadn't seen it. I mean, right now, Ryan, we are sitting back looking at a potential another, and this time a partial government shutdown, and all because Democrats want to reform ICE. And that's their whole reason. Because again, let's hold the entire U.S. government hostage for our political movement. They seem to think that that is a good weapon that they can use, and in the past, it's worked fine for them because Republicans usually cave. Now, I think the last time they didn't, and that surprised me, but they understand Republicans usually cave. Reason being, one, they're kind of weak kneed. Two, the fact that they are constantly blamed for the shutdowns in the mainstream media. So again, I there's part of me that can sympathize, but there's another part of me that thinks we'll just shut the whole thing down and let's guess what's not going to happen while the government shut down. We're not going to be continuing to raise the deficit because we can't spend money because you're not doing anything. But it's one of those things, Ryan, that again, here we are looking at a partial shutdown, just a few months after the longest government shutdown in the history of our country. And here we are again. I mean, it's almost like the labor disputes, the never ending labor disputes in Major League Baseball. I mean, it kind of is reminiscent to that whenever it comes around again, oh, one side's going to try to take their ball and go home.
Well, here's what I would ask. Do we, and you mentioned the word budget, do we actually have a budget? I don't know that we do. I don't, we used to operate on a budget. We'd say, okay, the revenue was X and the spending is Y. I don't know what we're bringing in revenue. I have no idea what we're spending because they seem to just pass continuing resolution throughout Biden's entire administration. Did we have a budget at all? Used to, we would know what the budget was. You could go and say, okay, this is what we're spending. This is what the deficit is. I don't think we're not operating on a budget. I don't think they want to operate on. I think they're just spending it regardless of what it is. I think they're spending it faster than it comes in. I mean, we're bringing in all this new revenue from the tariff, but the income tax is continuing. All the other revenue streams are continuing. I don't know. I can't tell you today what the deficit is. I don't have a clue. But they haven't passed any appropriations bills, and that's why we're nearing another shutdown.
Mm-hmm.
I would like to ask Congress, what are you doing every
Yeah.
day? What do y'all do every day? I mean, y'all get paid pretty well, and I mean, we're acting like the Democrats are in charge. I mean, the problem is we got so many Republicans that think like them, and of
Yeah.
course, and again, the Supreme Court. I'm not too worried about the Supreme Court. People got bent out of shape over this ruling. Trump just bypassed it and went right on that, which is exactly what he should have done, and just forget it and just go on. But hopefully, we can get some kind of budget. Maybe the Senate will get off their can and do something, but I won't hold my breath on that one.
Yeah. I mean, I don't think it's likely. I mean, it's one of those situations. I know we're getting close to a break. How much time do we have left? So we're about 3 minutes from a break, Ryan. But you look at this, and when you hear that this shutdown is being motivated mainly so that way the Democrats can force reform, some type of reform to ICE. They want, again, because this is a hot topic. They feel like ICE is a topic that can help them win midterms. And
Yeah.
in some of these more liberal states, it absolutely is going to be one that can help them win midterms. Is it going to help them in national elections down the road? I don't think so. But they're stroking they're trying to see just how much of a political stroke they have right now, and that's part of the reason why they're playing this game now.
Mhm.
Democrats, they're refusing to fund the Department of Homeland Security because they want these ICE reforms, and it's just one of those things, Ryan, that is sad because I don't like the fact that you have this one topic. Here's the thing: you want ICE reforms, win elections. Win
Yeah.
elections, guess what happens? You'll be able to have your reform that you want. I would say that I don't like this take your ball and go home crap that they keep playing.
Yeah. I mean, well, Trump won the election based upon mass deportations, and people voted for him for that reason, for voter ID. This SAVE Act, every poll they run, 84, 85% of people want it. And that's what we have to do. But Republicans, they need to they need to get on message. And because you're exactly right, Democrats are using ICE and this kind of thing uh, because it's revving up their base. And that's what they're trying to do, which is interesting because there were mass deportations under Clinton and Obama. Nothing happened. Nothing happened.
Yeah,
It's just an Trump, hate the right tactic.
absolutely. Well, we got to be really close to the first break here, right? So we're going to pause right here and let our sponsors talk to you for a second, and we'll come right back. You're watching Chris McDaniel's America here on the Midnight Ride Network, your home for the anti-establishment movement.
Escape to Pearl River Resort.
All right, welcome back here to Chris McDaniel's America. And I know that our Zoom is going to probably run out on us here in a second, Ryan. When that happens, we'll probably maybe send you a new link, bring you back on that way. So bear with us again. We're trying to figure this technology out. It's new to us. We just wanted to test it out. And Ryan was a more than willing guinea pig this week, and I appreciate him for that. But of course, we all want to step up because we understand what Chris and his family are going through at the moment. So we want to all help in that instance. And Ryan, we've been talking about the way that the left acts, the way that they're emboldened, the fact that they're always able to get away with these shutdown threats, these shutdown tactics, that they're willing to always hold the American public hostage, and that's one of those things that just truly frustrates me to no end, Ryan. And I know you feel the same thing because again, I have no problem with a government shutdown because I think they do too much anyway. But I do have a problem when you're just playing a political game. You just went through this a couple of months ago, and now here you are trying to go through this whole madness again.
Yeah, it's just what they do. They're not interested in governing. They're interested in just being obstructionists, and that's what this tactic is. And I'm just hoping it blows up in their face, and it could blow up in their face. It could backfire on them, and I'm hoping some of these tactics do backfire. I mean, I think it's a worry. I mean, the midterms are a worry, and if we don't get back on some kind of message and get some of these major reforms passed, I think Republicans are going to be in serious trouble come November. But I'm confident during the year and during the summer months, things will turn around and we'll be on track. I don't know what it's going to take. It's probably going to take Trump bringing Thune into the White House and chewing him out. That's what I would do. Uh, that's just
You,
my way, but
well,
maybe.
historically, Ryan, and you being a historian, you know this as a fact. Historically, whichever party controls the White House does terrible in the first midterms. I mean, they just that's the way it's always gone. I can't explain it. It just is the way. Now, I believe during the Biden administration, they lost they lost seats.
So is it okay? I think Savannah's gonna try to send out a new set up a new meeting and get that sent out so we can get Ryan back on here in just a second. And we may not be able to get Ryan back again. We knew it was going to run out here in a second. That's part of the reason why we had it set up the way that we did. But she's working on that now. But yeah, that's just a frustration that I continue to have when it comes to modern government. Because I mean, it makes zero sense to me that that's going to be the way that we're just going to operate. Because you're elected to do a job, and to me, they're not doing their duty. They're not doing what they said that they were going to do when they got sent up there, and that's so frustrating. Um, Probably not as frustrating, and hopefully we can get Ron back on and bring him up to speed when we do. Uh, Hopefully not as frustrating as uh, New Yorkers are for not listening when we tried to tell them who their new mayor was. That's right, Zoran Mamdani. He is the mayor of New York now, a devout socialist, a guy who told you when he was running what he was going to do, that he was going to make sure that you fully embrace collectivism. He's now, after promising uh, no new, uh, no raise on rent freezes, stuff like that. He's now trying to figure out a way to uh, get the property to freeze that by going up on people's property taxes. Sorry, stuff going on. While I'm talking, trying to get set up and get Ryan reconnected to Zoom. it can be distracting at times, and I apologize for kind of the stumble there. But that's what he's doing now. He's saying, well, in order to meet the budget, we may have to go up on property taxes, which means he's going to go up on property taxes. Let's just accept that. It is what it is. We know that. They know that. That's the honest truth. They just don't. They knew that when they first grabbed him. I mean, just to be honest with you, they've known that from day one, and that's the way how this stuff works. It's the way it's always going to work, and that's part of the true frustration here, because we have seen that. But yeah, I mean, I'm just like I said, I'm still watching and what's happening there in New York, and the frustration that we continue to have time and time again. It's crazy when you think about it, because again, we're trying to figure out exactly how terrible New York's going to get in the long string, and I think, and she may have to pod down this microphone again, but
Yeah,
I
I think we've got Ryan back on with us. Ryan, there you are.
I'm back.
Well, Ryan, I was jumped into New York, and this new mayor, Mamdani, we tried to tell him. We tried to tell him he was going to be a train wreck. They just didn't quite want to listen. I'm sure you've been following how he's threatening to raise property taxes because they have to balance the budget. You notice what he's not talking about doing: cutting, spending, cutting things. No, he wants to just take more from you. And it's just exactly what we said. I think Chris said it best after he was elected, that maybe this will be the best thing ever to happen to the country, because in the biggest city in our country, we're going to get a front row seat to just how badly socialism fails.
Exactly. He's 100% correct. I mean, I had the same thought too. I said, let people get a belly full of this and watch this disaster unfold. And we've seen immediately wanting to raise taxes and all this. And you even seen a lot of liberal wealthy people say, I'm leaving if they impose some sort of a wealth tax. I think the governor up there stopped that, but now he's raising property taxes on everybody, and wanting to raid the rainy day fund. I think even the pension funds to spend. And you remember what Margaret Thatcher always said about socialism was that pretty soon you run out of other people's money, and that's what's happening. They're going to run out of everybody else's money. And of course, you've seen the garbage all over the street. They got a program now because they have this major snowstorm. I don't know if you saw that, where he's trying to get people to be emergency snow shovelers. So he's getting the workers out there to because they can't handle it, obviously. And it was kind of funny. He said, all you got to do is show up at these locations to be an emergency snow shoveler, and you got to bring 2 forms of ID in order to sign up.
Yeah,
that's
I've got that story right in front of me, because that's a fascinating one that I definitely wanted to get into, especially after you brought up the Save Act. Because again, let me get this straight, Ryan. That if you want to volunteer to work, you got to bring at least 2 forms of identification, right?
Yeah.
Doesn't that make this Jim Crow 2.0 there in New York? Because I mean, isn't asking for ID, specifically ID from a minority, isn't that racist?
Yeah, it's supposed to be. I mean, they can't get an ID apparently. You're not supposed to be able to do that. So, but to shovel snow in New York City, you got to have 2 forms of ID. One of them has to be a picture ID, I guess, so they'll know who you are. I mean, you're not getting paid. I mean, this is communism. This is a good old volunteer. Getting the workers to work, but bring your ID.
Isn't New York a sanctuary city? Don't they like to, protect illegals up there? I don't know if they're.
I think that's what he's spending a lot of the money on. And of course, you got to understand, he's a Muslim. Muslims lie. They can lie to people. And of course, have you seen the videos? They've got loudspeakers now with the Muslim call to prayer in New York City. In New York City.
Yeah.
25 years after, quarter century after 9/11, we have this kind of stuff.
Hmm.
Sometimes I wake up and don't know what world I live in. What's going on with this world? And people ask me that all the time. I say, get out your Bible, read the first chapter of Romans, and then come back to me and we'll talk. I mean, that'll tell you exactly what's going on. You can't do the things that we do as a society. And of course, people say, well, God's going to judge us. God's already judging us. We're already under judgment. That's why you have people like that. John Calvin used to say, when God wants to judge a nation, he gives them wicked rulers. Well, you can't get any more wicked than some of the ones we've got here. I mean, you've got this fanatical woman in Virginia that was elected. And what do? They came out with 50 brand new taxes just as soon as she got in office. When they were promising they were going to lower costs for everybody. And of course, everybody's screaming and hollering. I laughed. I thought it was wonderful. Same thing in New York City. I hope
Yeah.
get you a belly full of this. Absolutely. Don't come down here though. Don't come to Texas and Mississippi and Florida. Don't move down here and bring that mess with you.
Yeah.
A lot of them are talking about leaving. Don't do that. Stay there. You voted for it. That's what
Well,
I saw one commentator said, we ought to have a law that if you vote for somebody like that, you can't leave. You've got to stay right there and enjoy the fruits of who you voted for. And that's
if you do leave,
yeah,
if you do leave, then learn from it.
yeah,
If you're going to come somewhere else, don't keep voting the same way that you have, because obviously you left that place because the way you were voting wasn't working.
yeah.
Sadly, that's not the way that they operate. Now, they
Nope.
may come down here and run for office as a Republican because they want to pull the wool over your eyes, but they're not a conservative and they don't fit the values. We see that time and time again. You know, Mamdani, he is the spectacular failure that we all expected him to be, because again, socialism doesn't work. I mean, that's the dirty rotten secret.
Yeah.
But did you hear when he was asked about, or at least not him, have you heard what defenders of Mamdani have said when they're cornered with, well, requiring these snow shovelers to have two forms of identification? Have you heard what their defense?
No, I have not. What is their defense?
They say, well, it's the law. Well, isn't that funny, Ryan? Because we have immigration laws too, and I
Yeah.
don't think Mamdani cares too much for them. So, and when it comes to voting, which is something that we should want to try to protect the integrity of to the highest degree, I guarantee you that Mamdani is against voter ID. So
No.
again,
No.
it's like
Yeah.
they pick and choose.
Yeah. Well, here's what's interesting, and Republicans need to learn how to argue this because we like to show a list of things you have to have an ID for. You can't board an airplane, you can't buy alcohol, all these things that you do. And of course, what they'll say though is this is how the left argues it, and people need to understand their arguments. What they'll say is, yeah, but none of those things are protected constitutional rights, but voting is. So you shouldn't have to show an ID. Now, when they say that, here's how you hit back at them. Well, I have a constitutional right to own a firearm, but I have to show an ID. Now,
Yeah,
here's the deal we ought to cut. Okay, I tell you what, we'll drop the SAVE Act, no ID for voting, but we have to repeal every law on regulations on firearms. No
and
IDs for
purchase.
firearms or
Yeah,
anything. Which one do you want? We can either do both or none, and that's the difference. You've got to hit them back with the same argument. You can't get into an argument about boarding an airplane or that kind of thing. But the point is, again, you're right. They just want to. They're trying to set it up so that they can continue to cheat. They
yeah,
know they don't. If we had a voter ID in every single state, Democrats would almost never win an election, and they know that. And the thing is, that's why they're bringing in so many illegals. That's why they're fighting so hard to keep these illegals here, because that's their voters, and trying to get them in a path to citizenship, because nobody wants to. Voting Democrat is something most Americans just won't do. I mean, they just won't,
yeah.
and they have to
Well,
bring
the
in new
majority
voters.
numbers I've seen, majority of Hispanics don't vote Democrat.
Yeah,
Now
they don't like
I'm
it. They don't like
I don't think
illegals.
that maybe includes ones who aren't supposed to be voting. I don't know or not. Uh, but I do think that that's part of the reason why there's that whole race for amnesty and stuff like that, is because, and I think both parties are guilty of trying to push it. We've seen, I mean, there's a reason why Lindsey Graham has the nickname Lindsey Grahamnesty,
Yeah,
because we've seen the Republicans try to push it. And the reason they've tried to push it,
cheap
they feel
labor.
like whichever one gives it to them first,
Yeah,
that will be their build built-in voter block. I mean, it's exploiting a community essentially is what they're trying to do. It's the same thing that was done to Black Americans to get them to always vote Democrat. Democrats were the ones who, okay, I'll throw you a breadcrumb here, I'll throw you a breadcrumb there, and they bought it and believed that Democrats were the ones taking care of them, when in fact that they were setting them backwards. And that's ultimately, I think, what you see in this race to amnesty. I don't think you're going to see any flirtation with amnesty with Trump in office. I have no concerns of that. But I don't want to sit there and say that Republicans haven't pushed for that themselves. Matter of fact, Ronald Reagan, as you know, he did an amnesty bill. And I think it was the greatest mistake. Look, Reagan's my favorite president of my lifetime, but that was his greatest mistake without a doubt.
That began the process of turning California blue. You know, people don't realize that California was pretty reliably red for a long time. I mean, Richard Nixon won it every time he was on the ballot. Reagan did. Democrats had a hard time winning California, and you see other states. Virginia is the same way. What's changing these states blue is mass immigration, and they know that. That's why they're doing it. And that's what's the sad part is you see so-called Republicans like Lindsey, these McCain Republicans, but then every now and then you'll see like the Oklahoma Congressman James Lankford. He came out with essentially an amnesty bill, last year or something, and he's supposed to be pretty reliably conservative. So I don't know if it's a fear of not wanting to be called a racist. Are they intimidated? I don't know if it's thinking obvious. Like you said, we can get there first, and maybe they'll vote for us, or is it their constituent? I mean, their donors want cheap labor. There was a lot of big businesses that want cheap labor, and in mass immigration, people need to understand mass immigration drives wages down, folks. That's what's driving holding it down, and they know that. That's why they're doing it. Both sides of the globalists. There's globalists in both parties, and that's what they're doing. And it's tore the middle class to pieces over these decades.
Yep. And speaking as somebody who is right on the fringe of being in the middle class from middle lower class, it definitely is putting a chokehold on some of us. I mean, it's just one of those things, and that's the reason why it's so important that we get a handle on it. And mass amnesty is just never going to be the option. But it is nice, as you said, to see Mamdani and the folks that voted for him already starting to see, just months into his first year, what a incredible decision. Look, I mean, let's go back to that shoveling, because if you recall, yes, you have to bring 2 forms of identification. But if you also remember, Mamdani wasn't necessarily asking you to volunteer. He was telling everyone they need to volunteer. They have to volunteer. It sounded almost like he was trying to mandate that citizens get out there and shovel snow themselves. I'm sorry. You got people on your payroll that are supposed to be doing that, and yet you're going to try to force us down. Yeah. Are you cutting their spending, or are you raising my property tax? Because if you're not cutting your budget and you're not doing away with those positions, I don't see any reason why I should be out there shoveling snow. I'm just, maybe out of my own driveway, maybe out of my own yard. Yes. But for the city, no. I mean, especially not when you're threatening to raise my property taxes. I don't see it in the slightest.
Every totalitarian regime believes in national service. I mean, it's from Marx, Engels, Lenin, Stalin, Mussolini. It's all about national service, and that's when I heard that. That's the first thing I thought of. I said, "Well, here we go. 3 cheers for national service. We can all pitch in and do the shoveling." I thought, well, he's a communist. I mean, he's an out and out communist, and I hope people in New York City enjoy it. I mean, I've been there one time, and I don't know that I'll be going back anytime soon.
I've never been. I want to see it because I hear the coast is beautiful, but I also don't want to spend the insane amount of money it would take once I'm there. I mean, I think getting there, I could get there relatively inexpensively, but once you get there, everything costs so much more because of how terrible that government there in California is. New York is a city I visited once, and I absolutely loved New York more than I thought I would. but I have no desire to go up there for those same reasons because anything I do in the city, it already was really high, 10, 15 years ago, however long it was when I went. But with a guy like that as your mayor, it's going to be that much more absurd. Uh, Before we get to the fun story, because Ryan, we're right at, I think, about 8 or 9 minutes left in the program. Uh,
Mm-hmm.
there's a story I came across. You're familiar with comedian Bill Maher, who hosts his HBO show. Bill Maher's somebody that, for years I just vehemently disliked. I mean, I really did.
Me too.
But in recent years,
Yeah.
because of how absurd the left has gotten, he's definitely not a conservative, but he
No.
is definitely not on board with the radical left, and he is willing to call them out.
Yeah.
So I found a more, and the other thing I'll say about Bill Maher that is a testament to him over most liberals is he will sit down and talk to anyone. He
Yes.
will understand that it's okay to debate topics and at the end of the day, shake each other's hand and say, we still disagree.
Yeah.
I respect that about him. Don't
Yeah.
agree with most of his politics, but I respect that about him. Well, he came up on recently, and he came out on his Real Time with Bill Maher talk show, where he called for the end of the State of the Union address. Um, and he said, since the State of the Union address is next Tuesday, let's get rid of the State of the Union before Tuesday. And he then explained why. He said, nothing has misled the American people to the warped belief that the president can act like a king more than this stupid, boring, performative after dinner speech from hell where the sergeant at arms announces the president like he's a king. Let me ask you a question on this, because I mean, is this? Look, I do agree. I find the State of the Union, no matter who the president is, 9 times out of 10 is pretty boring. And it preempts anything that's not sports on television. So when I look at this in his face, I'm like, what is the point of the State of the Union anymore? Because if
100%.
you watch it, it's really and truly just an opportunity for the power that's in the party that's in power to stand up and applaud, and the power that's not in, the party that's not in power to sit there and pout and just
Yeah.
pander for the camera. It is a spectacle that I think has truly. I think he might be onto something, because I think it has outlived its usefulness.
Well,
I'm not sure that the State of the Union is something. Now, do I think they'll ever get rid of it? No. But Ron, what do you think? Do you think the state, does it stay or does it go?
Well, I agree 100% with Bill Maher, and I've said that before. Let's look at it historically. The Constitution just simply says that the president shall inform Congress from time to time on the State of the Union. It doesn't say annually, but it was something that Washington started. Washington did it as a speech. Adams. Who got rid of it? Thomas Jefferson. Jefferson got rid of that in favor of written messages because he said it's too much like the English king opening Parliament. And that was why he said we don't want our president resembling a king. So Maher would agree with Jefferson, and I would too. From Jefferson to Woodrow Wilson, it was a written message sent every December. That's when Congress used to open its session in December, and the president would send a written message. Now, I encourage you, if you're interested in this, to go look through the 19th century at the annual messages that presidents would send to Congress. They are as boring as they can be. It's not a rah-rah political message. It's this is how much money came in, this is how much we're spending, this is what we're negotiating this treaty with this country. It was just a State of the Union, what's happening in foreign policy and those kind of things. Woodrow Wilson brought that practice back, and when you study Woodrow Wilson, you'll understand why. He wanted the president to be more like a prime minister anyway. And so he brought the practice back. But now what television has done is turned it into a rah-rah political speech. Hey, look at what we've done and what we're
Yeah.
doing. And like you said, it's a performance, and this side pouts and this side dresses all in white, and this one, it's ridiculous. I agree 100%. It should go away. They should go back to written messages on the actual State of the Union, not the state of the party, not the state of your administration, not the state of your reelection campaign, the State of the Union. And what's actually happening with the country. I would be in favor of getting rid of it, but of course, I don't even know what the ratings are on something like that. I never watch them. I think they're ridiculous. I mean, even if I
The
like
ratings, I think that's the reason why they're on so many networks. because I think that they're masking the ratings, because if it's on NBC, ABC, CBS, Fox, CNN, Fox News, you
Yeah.
know, I'm running. I know there are multiple new, but you see what I'm saying? It dilutes the number, so that way, if I'm the chief at NBC, I'm sitting here going, well, the ratings didn't look good here on NBC, but that's because it was on every other network. I think it kind of gives them some coverage, so that way we never truly know what the ratings are.
Right.
So I think that makes sense. Well, I know we're probably about 3 minutes left in the show, Ryan, and I want to end on a positive note, because this morning, and I don't know if you watched it, Ryan, but the United States hockey team, for the first time in 46 years, for the first on the 46th anniversary of the Miracle on Ice, U.S.
Yeah.
hockey won the gold medal this morning, and didn't just win it; they won it over Canada,
Yeah.
who is, that's their national sport. Our hockey is probably like our fourth sport. Just being honest, and I love hockey, but
Yeah.
it's probably like our fourth sport in America. And here we are, and it was a dramatic game. 1-1 goes to overtime, and they were playing the tournament under NHL rules, where once it went to overtime, it was 3-on-3 hockey, and the U.S. got a breakaway and put one on in the back of the net for what's called a golden goal. It was incredible. As a hockey fan, I was thoroughly entertained with the game. As an American, I was happy. And the fact that, the Canadians have, not necessarily said as many kind things about us, it made it feel a little bit more special to see
Oh yeah.
us beat them in their own sport, Ron.
That's almost as good as beating the Soviets. I mean, I saw we were going up against Canada. I'm like, please, Lord, we need this one. And when I saw that we'd won in such a dramatic fashion, I said that's fantastic, because to stick it to Canada, that's always good. And
Mm-hmm.
I wish we had better relations, but Canada's good. They're going the way of New York City and that kind of thing. And
Mm-hmm.
anytime we can win, and our whole team did good. I think it's the best Winter Olympics we've ever had as far as number of medals.
Yeah,
So it's really good.
it's just, again. So you didn't watch the game.
No, I missed it. I didn't watch it, but I think they're going to play it again. But I saw the highlights. I saw I was too nervous to watch it. I just said
Mm-hmm.
I'll have to wait and see what happens.
Not me.
I saw 2-1.
No, I missed the start of it, because I
I
think it
don't
started
understand hockey.
early this morning.
I don't
Uh,
understand hockey, but I like the fights. But other than that,
and they don't allow the fighting in Olympic
I
hockey,
know
so
it.
I get your dilemma there.
I know
No,
that's
I
that's the
love it. And I've learned a lot of the rules. I mean, pretty much during the time that the NBA went so political that it became unwatchable, and the basketball is just a terrible brand of basketball. I got way more into watching hockey, and I've fallen in love with it. And because of that, too, I knew a lot of the players on both Team Canada and Team USA. Uh,
maybe I need to do that because football's going down the wrong path. I don't
mhm.
like it. It's just I gotta get into hockey. Maybe I need to do that.
Look, do it. I mean,
Over here in I'm over
I
here in
would tell
Dallas, and I've
you to
never been
join.
to a Stars game.
But you're right there. You should go to a Stars game. That'll do it for you.
Yeah.
Because what really solidified my love of hockey was going to a Blackhawks game,
Oh,
which I was fixing to say. You could join Chris and I as a Blackhawks fan, but I think that right now, since they've been in the rebuild for the last, it feels like 20 years, but it hadn't been that long. I think they last won the cup in 15, if I'm remembering correctly, but they've been rebuilding pretty much since 15, and it's not for the faint of heart for you to come on board with the Blackhawks at this time, Ryan. But the Stars are always pretty good, so you absolutely should go out there and watch the Stars game.
not far away. I'm not far away. I can zip over there and watch them sometime. Maybe I'll do that.
Absolutely. I mean, it's a cool sport, and the fact that these guys are you know slamming each other into those boards, they're taking hits and falling on hard ice. Yes, folks, that is real ice. They're not just falling on some padded surface. No, they're taking those falls on ice. Those boards are not always the most given when you get slammed into one. So it's something. And television, once you learn it, you can watch it on television pretty easily. But television doesn't do it justice, because once you've been there in person, you understand how hard those hits feel. You
Yeah.
understand, especially if you can sit next to the glass.
Yeah, I've been
That's
to some of
important.
the minor league ones. I've seen that they get some. Only reason I did that because I've heard there was a lot more fighting in it, and it seemed to be in 5 minutes. So I was pretty
You know,
happy about that.
the NHL still lets them fight,
Yeah,
so so you can enjoy that aspect of it. But no, it's awesome to see them win. I mean, the fact that now is it a miracle in the vein of the '80 Olympic team? No, because that was a group of amateurs
yeah, right,
that beat the
correct.
Russians, and people forget beating the Russians wasn't the gold medal game. That was the semifinal. The
Yeah,
next game was the gold medal game.
that's right.
But I mean, the Russians were a team of pros, and our amateurs were able to pull off the upset of all upsets. And I want to say they had played Russia earlier in like some type of exhibition, and Russia just beat the brakes off of them.
Yeah, they did.
So
Hmm.
it was that's a still probably always going to be a top sports moment. Period.
Sure.
Uh, but this one's still pretty cool, and it's hard to believe it took them it took them 46 years to get another gold medal. But I mean, here we are, and the U.S. is holding that medal up high in what was an exciting game. And Ryan, when they replay it, even though you know the outcome, well, probably for you, since you said you were too nervous to watch it ahead of it, maybe knowing the outcome. Are you a pro wrestling fan, Ryan? Do you like to have everything predetermined?
No, I don't watch wrestling.
I just couldn't resist, Ryan. Well, look,
Well, I mean, I didn't want to lose to Canada. I just
I agree. I did not either. I saw that last year, and I don't know if it was the Hockey World Cup but we already gone down that rabbit hole and saw Canada beat us in the championship. So it was nice to get them back in this
yeah.
one. Now Ryan, your current books can be found on Amazon. And are there any other places that if somebody wants to look for one of your books that they can find them besides Amazon?
Amazon or Barnes and Noble. Those are but Amazon's probably they got the best prices. I mean, a lot of people don't like to shop on Amazon, but hey, you can get some good stuff.
People say they don't like shopping on Amazon,
They do.
but if you drive by their house, they probably got an Amazon package in front of it.
I'm a top customer.
Well, look, if you don't like shopping on Amazon, but you're going to support a good conservative author, then maybe there's a reason for you to, right?
Find them on Amazon, and hopefully two more this year, hopefully, and maybe a couple more next year. I'm hard at work on a lot of projects. So
Well, Ryan, I really appreciate you jumping in. Last moment, we
no
going through the technical difficulties of trying to figure out how to make the Zoom work. I'm glad that you were the one to be the guinea pig in this experiment. Hopefully, this will lead to not just having you back on, especially when Chris is here, but maybe even lead to having opening the door where we can have other guests that can't come in studio come be a part of the show.
Yeah, I've enjoyed it. I appreciate you having me.
All
Anytime.
right, all right, guys. I'm Jack Fairchilds again, filling in for Chris McDaniel. Before we sign off, of course, Chris, Jill, Cambridge Chamberlain, sending you guys big hugs, thoughts, and prayers. Our hearts are with you guys. We
Next week, maybe we'll get Chris back, but I mean, who knows? When you're planning funeral services and things like that, you can't necessarily just go ahead and say that's going to be it's going to work out that way. We just don't know. Just watch our Facebook page, I guess, because I mean, depending on when that is, that could affect both of us being here next week. But we'll know more as the week progresses. But I'm Jack Fairchilds, and for Ryan Walters, thank you guys so much for watching this episode of Chris McDaniel's America, right here on the Midnight Ride Network, your home for the anti-establishment movement.
Looks like you've been sleeping well,
Megan, he's back. The My Pillow guy.
and you're looking good.
Still feeling good.
Well, just when you thought it couldn't get any better, we've got the best pillow ever, My Pillow 2.0.
Wow, it's so soft and smooth.
It's cool to the touch. How did you do that?
Well, we took MyPillow's patented fill and combined it with this new technology that we didn't have back then when I invented MyPillow to bring you the best pillow in history, MyPillow 2.0. Just like all of you, I never imagined that MyPillow could get any better. That's why I haven't changed it in nearly 20 years. Then I heard about a revolutionary new technology, and I knew I had to bring it to you all. MyPillow 2.0 is truly the next generation of MyPillow.
The MyPillow 2.0 is cooler and softer than the last MyPillow. It is so comfortable to sleep on at night. I look forward to going to bed, and I wake up well rested in the morning.
Sleep is all about temperature and height. MyPillow 2.0's patented adjustable fill is going to give you the exact individual support you need from your head to your bed. And now here's where it gets even better. We've all experienced those temperature-related sleep interruptions where you get too hot, you toss and turn, you flip your pillow over to the cool side. Well, all that's gone with my brand new MyPillow 2.0 cooling fabric that's made with temperature-regulating thread.
The best sleep just got even better. Whether you have a MyPillow or not, you need to get the brand new MyPillow 2.0. Call or go to MyPillow.com now. Use your promo code, and for a limited time when you buy one, you'll get a second one absolutely free.
You're sleeping even better.
And cooler, too.
And you're looking good.
Feeling good.
I knew you would.
Visit mypillow.com